Comparison is an evil thief of joy at work. But because all the nastiness of comparison happens inside our heads, it doesn't get much airspace. And that's why when I heard our next guest, Rob Stubbs, speak so powerfully about the dangers of comparison at work, I knew I had to hear more. And I wasn't disappointed. Rob is the founder of Sparked Ambition. And in this episode, we unpack the different types of comparison and explore how unfairly measuring ourselves against others can leave us stuck, not moving, not changing, just comparing. And Rob also shares a fresh way to reframe comparison, turning it from a joy killer into a tool for action. Let's dive in. Rob, what types of comparison do you see in your daily work?
We've all seen it, haven't we? We're working hard, we're making progress, and then you see someone land a promotion or announce a success, and suddenly your own achievements start to feel like they're not enough. And that's comparison. I think comparison's everywhere. It's a natural human tendency, but I think all too often it's unhelpful for us. The common patterns I see, first one is success theatre. So we compare someone else's highlight reels to our behind the scenes, but it's a distorted reality. We're not seeing their setbacks. We're not seeing the doubts or their challenges, all the stuff that they're going through. And it makes it easy for us to feel like we're falling behind, even though we're actually making really good progress. Then second one is timeline compression. So we see other success and we assume it's happened overnight, and we ignore all the years of work that's gone into it, right? And we just go, oh, wow, that's happened for them. And it causes us to reframe our own milestones. So we start thinking, oh, I should be further ahead. I'm not going fast enough. And it pushes us into that kind of impatience, or even makes us question our own path. The third one, and I've done this myself, is composite comparison. So we take all those seemingly best bits of other people and their journeys, and we combine them into this unreal, impossible standard for us to live by. We've all had that advice to go look and learn from people that we admire, and it can be really helpful advice, but not if we take all those bits and we create an impossible measure that we're just never going to live up to. Wow. And then the fourth one is my favorite, right? So it's the seemingly aspirational comparison. This is the sneaky one. So we all know we shouldn't compare, but we do it anyway. And then we disguise it and we justify to ourselves and go, oh, it's inspiration. We convince ourselves it's helpful, but underneath, we're still measuring ourselves against others. It's still unhelpful and it's still derailing us. And so at the heart of all those, we've got a lack of context, right? We know our full story, but we're only seeing fragments of what others are doing. Then we apply that selective and biased focus. It goes through all of our filters and our beliefs and our assumptions. And then we don't do anything constructive with it at the end. And that's what causes comparison, I think, to do more harm than good when we get stuck in that cycle.
Oh my God, I think I've lived all of those, Rob. Tell me more about, why does comparison keep us stuck?
I think ultimately comparison creates resistance. It's slowing us down. It blocks that progress, and it starts to widen the gap between where we are and where we know we should be. And the specifics are quite individual, but I think there are some common symptoms that we see. So the first is it starts to affect our mindset. We start to doubt ourselves. We start to think, oh, I should be further along. I'm not doing enough. I'm not as good as them. And that second guessing means we don't move forward with intent. And the more we let it in, the more it slows us down and it confuses us and it saps our energy.
Yeah.
The other thing it starts to do is we start to operate through fear-based decision making. So when comparison is dictating our actions, we start playing safe. We start going, who am I to try? They're doing that great thing. I could never do that. I can't achieve that level. So we play small. We avoid risks. We shrink our ambitions. And of course, that annoys us and it frustrates us and it keeps us stuck. We can start chasing the wrong things. So we get that shiny object syndrome, right? So we assume somebody else's path should be our path. We start chasing the things that we assume are making them successful. But that leads to more confusion, more frustration, because we don't know. And their path and their strategy and their strengths are different to us. And we might even start chasing misaligned goals entirely. And we see that, and I'm sure you've seen it with career paths. We get caught up following a path that we see others on. we don't never actually stop and think, is this really the right thing for me? And that's when you end up going, you look back in a couple of years and go, oh, why did I get it? And then the other really interesting one, I think, is we start to focus on reputation management. So we start to think about how we appear rather than what we're doing. And I think what happens here is we're spending our time scrutinizing other people. So we assume they're scrutinizing us. So we turn it back on ourselves. So instead of leading with intent, we become performative, we manage perceptions, we get externally focused rather than internally focused. And of course, the irony of all that, as you'll know, is we focus less on the things that actually matter. And so our progress slows and we'll repeat the cycle. So over time, if we don't break that routine, it dents our confidence, the hesitation builds up, makes it harder for us to move forward. And exactly that, our growth slows and it puts an artificial limit on our potential.
Okay, now let me ask you this question, because all of that is negative. All of that. No one wants that, and nobody deliberately decides to do that. But can comparison ever be a useful tool in bringing out a little bit more joy at work?
I think it can. And I think the question for us to ask ourselves here is, what if we could shift how we think about comparison?
Okay.
So instead of it holding us back, we're actually using it to accelerate our growth and our joy and our purpose. And I think you can do that, but only if we pivot it in an intentional and a constructive way.
Okay.
And this is deeper work. We need to understand what's really driving that comparison for us and the triggers and the fears that it's tapping into. But I think the 3 ways that I can share that we can start to turn that comparison into growth. So the first one is shifting our perspective. So often we need to reframe these things. So instead of feeling inadequate or jealous or demotivated, we can start to ask, what have I noticed? What is it about that success I'm seeing in someone else that's making me react? And what's that comparison maybe telling me about what I truly want? It's giving us some clues and we've got to listen to them. The second one is we can then be a little bit more strategic about the way we use comparison. So we can really learn from those that we see are ahead of us. So instead of thinking, oh, I can never do that, we can ask, what can I learn? What are the behaviors and skills that I see in them that I can develop to help me? And don't do this on your own, right? Can you close that context gap by actually speaking to them? Can you actually make them an ally in what you're trying to do? Because we want to turn that observation into a tangible and practical action, and we can use that comparison productively. And then the third one, I think this is the judo move, right? This is the flip where you turn comparison inward. And I think this is the most valuable kind of comparison. So we stop measuring against someone else and we start to think about our own progress. So how have I grown compared to my past self? What have I learned? What am I grateful for today? And where am I heading next? Why is that important to me? So we use those tools of comparison on ourselves, but not in an unhelpful way, but in something that's going to push us forward. Because comparison is not exactly. Comparison is not bad. It's just how we use it. So we can approach it with all those great things of self-awareness and joy and compassion. It becomes a really powerful tool rather than something that holds us back.
Fabulous. So if someone is listening, and they feel themselves stuck in this comparison loop and not taking practical action, where can they start this week unpicking what's going on there?
Yeah, great question. So number one, build that awareness. So start to notice when and why that comparison's showing up. Is it triggered by a specific person that you see? Is there someone at work you're actually a little bit jealous about that you're not really owning? Is it spiraling after you're scrolling on social media and you're seeing other people's success? Or is it triggered when you get some unexpected news? You're going along quite happily and then you spot someone else who's done when you go home. So if you understand when that comparison's happening, you can start to catch it early and you start to slow down your thinking. At that point, then you can unpack what's happening. Because our default might be to ignore or squash down that comparison, but it's still going to be working away in the background. It's still unhelpful. So lean into what's uncomfortable, right? You go, what am I really feeling here? Is it envy? Is it frustration? Is it admiration? Is it self-doubt? And then again, what can I learn from this now that I understand a little bit more about what's going on? And then turn that comparison into some action. Doesn't matter how small, use it positively. Do it on your own terms. Can you use it as a driver to push you forward in a way that's going to be helpful for you? That's back to focusing on your path and your progress. So yeah, I think if you're struggling with comparison, it takes awareness and intentional action. Once you interrupt that cycle, slow down the thinking and lean into it a little bit more, you'll start to understand it and build more healthy habits and more intentional actions.
We're at the end of our conversation together. Is there anything else that we've missed?
Yeah, so I think comparison isn't something to eliminate. I think we know that comparison is unhelpful, but it's a natural human trait. And the big difference is how we respond to that initial comparison trigger. The most successful leaders and business owners don't avoid comparison. They develop that self-awareness to catch themselves and ask, what can I learn? And when we remember that our journey is uniquely ours, shaped by our purpose and our strengths and our vision, you get clear on what you're doing and the impact you want to make, comparison starts to lose its power a little bit because you shift from measuring yourself against others to measuring your own progress and your own potential. And that's where the fulfillment and the joy emerges.
If you enjoyed this, you might also enjoy my Life Satisfaction Assessment. It's a 30-minute program where I guide you through a deep dive into 10 areas of your life to assess what's bringing you joy and what's bringing you down. I call it Derailed. It's a fabulous place to begin a Joy at Work redesign.